YouTube fam and live fam? We're coming in right away with action and looking for possible overnight plays. How's everybody doing? I hope we had a great March and we're ready for this new month of April. I know we're halfway through, but I don't get to see you guys on live too much often. So I hope everyone's having a good month so far. All right, so for those of you guys that are new and never really traded with me or don't know who I am, what up, everyone? My name is Maverick Mike. I like to trade a certain strategy that I've been doing now for 10 years, and that 10 years have all been backdated from tracking all my trades through an Excel sheet and a website. And throughout that backdating, I've been able to create five, I would say, patterns, mainly going over after three, but five patterns that I go after every single day. I look to buy and sell stuff. Usually buying late in the day, which I consider power hour right now from 3 to 4 p.m., and then selling hopefully that next morning right around until I would say 11 a.m. I like to hold it depending on how the play is going. So the five stocks that I have are already on a list. This list is on the Simpler Trading website under Stock Mavericks, and I make that list every single day live with my community. While we're here, and I already bought QNC at 265, what we'll do together, because I want to buy this gold stock, is I like this gold stock here. It's a slow mover, so I don't expect anything too crazy out of it, but I do think it's good enough for us to try to risk overnight. We would use 18 as cut, or 1810. So you're not really risking a lot, but you're also not going to make a lot on a stock like this. I always like to say for stocks like this, it's an old reliable, is what I like to call these. But with gold, GLD making new highs, we're going to go after it and say screw it, right? So we'll put ourselves on the bid. Also, BTQ, I'm a fan of. QNC, but let's dive in and let's talk about that before I get you guys too overwhelmed with everything going on. What up, Johnny? What up, Toby? What up, John? How's everybody doing this afternoon? What up, Himony? Himony, you've been crushing it still? Jesse, what's going on? So BTQ tending to hold its spot right now, continuing its trend, which I like a lot here. All right. So the two trades that we've already got some fills of, we have 1,100 shares of QNC at 265, and then I ended up buying some AYASF right here. How many shares did we buy? 200 shares. So those are just starters. We'll see if we can buy some more. If we like the stock and it continues to hold, then I usually buy more as the day goes on. But let's talk about the five stocks that I have as potential for overnight. Usually when there's more than five, I still feel like it's important to dim it down. I mean, yesterday I put 6 on there, but that's only because it was a huge bounce green day in the market yesterday. And I think we're due for some pretty big bounces after everything that's been happening with the war. So get excited. SPY and QQQ have already almost bounced to new all-time highs, which is shocking to even say, but that is a true statement if you look at the SPY and the QQQ. So with that being said, let's get into the five stocks that I am looking to take here for potential overnight. So this is the Simpler Trading community here. Honestly, a great group of traders, all with the same goal of just trying to continue to make money day in and day out. So these are the five stocks that I like, but remember, you're not completely, you can choose what you want. You are your own boss. I've just learned that in my past history, going after these type of plays is the number one thing that I like. But then the next thing that I need is going to be the risk level. So we're going to go over both of those during this watch list. So the first thing I'm going to read to you is the stock. The second thing is the pattern. And then this is what the stock is, if it's a listed stock or an OTC stock, what kind of sector it's in, and then the support level that we risk, and the resistance we hopefully sell above tomorrow. So that's always the goal. Buy as close to support, sell above the resistance. And when you're buying close to support, you want to be using that level as cut too. So you're risking that level as well. So for QNC, you see 260 as the support. Well, you'd probably use either 260 or 255. The volume's very light. It's only 3 million in this stock. But if you do look at it, it's a former OTC stock. This is when it used to be an OTC stock. It was a really good runner, and we used to play it a lot. And then it became a listed stock and absolutely collapsed. But hopefully we get started back up. And that's really what we're looking for. Quantum stocks altogether are looking good. If I pull up some of the quantum stocks that I like to look at, there's a whole sector of them that are creating really nice days. IONQ, a huge day there for a quantum stock of 18%. RGTI, we got a nice AI quantum computing stock up 11%. You have that QBTS and QUBT up 10% plus. So nice moves across the board, and that's what makes me interested in that QNC. So we got some at 265. We'll see as the day goes on how much more we're going to go after. But that is number one on that list. Number two, I decided to go with the two quantum stocks together. So BTQ is the second one. Yesterday, BTQ's first green day would have been ideal. As you can see, it's gapped up now 15% plus when it was at highs. But the stock is known to follow up when it's flowing. Even on a day like this, it's still followed up. So we'll see if we can get another day out of it. That's what we'd be looking for, another gap up. Markets are up a lot, so everything's kind of strong, and a lot of these stocks have been drawn down a lot too. So not a bad one to watch. It is a second green day, which is not really one of my patterns. I usually like a first green day, but at this point, this stock is just flowing. So we'll just say that's the next one. The next two stocks are light volume ones. You want to be a little more careful with light volume. You could usually wait till the end of power hour for these ones. But the last two would be AYASF, which is a gold stock I like a lot. And I just like it because it's an old reliable. You're not going to risk a lot. But usually if you look at the past history, if it's trending, it follows up. It has days of following up. And gold GLD, the ETF, has followed up pretty nicely here. So if that follows up, AYAS will follow up. So I did already get some starters in AYASF at 1835. So you can get it cheaper than what I got right now if you really like that stock. Looking for that follow-up day. BDBRF's the last OTC stock I have on there. Very, very, very light volume, but right next to the 52-week breakout. So you'd want that to gap up. And then the last one I put on there was Hive. I put a Bitcoin one on there because Bitcoin actually is getting close to 75K. And if Bitcoin breaks above 75K and holds that spot overnight, you're probably going to get some really nice runs in some of these Bitcoin stocks. So Hive has been one of those ones that look like it's due for a run. I mean, yesterday was the real first green day, which I don't love about it. But it's definitely one that we're going to keep our eyes on for sure. And all of this is a good example from yesterday, where yesterday our overnight watch list was Beyond Meat. And Beyond Meat was from our overnight watch list, one green day to second. That's a perfect example of what we were looking for. You also have, let's see, what else was a good one? GoPro was a nice example too. How much that was able to run from one day to the next. So going all the way from 90 cents to 110, but it actually went more pre-market. So look at that squeeze. So that's what we usually look for. Usually if these stocks are able to close strong and hold their spots, you use those spots as risk. I try to risk around 5% or less. But if the stock is hot, maybe we'll risk 10, 15%. It all depends. Every stock's a different situation. Usually there's sector momentum that makes a stock a little more hot. But right now we just have a market that's finally bouncing, that's been falling forever. I mean, not forever, but at least a month we've been having a downward market. We've also been dealing with war. So it makes sense for the market to be going down. But it's nice to see just these two follow-up days, how strong things are. So with GoPro squeeze yesterday, it makes me definitely want to watch Beyond again. Even though we put it on yesterday's overnight watch list, that thing is still making its move. So we'll keep our eye on that. And we got 45 minutes left in the day. Usually I say the later on in the day, the better. So the later that these stocks are able to hold their spots, the more I think that they're going to actually follow up tomorrow. If you think about it, they probably will have the ability to follow up tomorrow. Nice. We actually just got filled at 1827, so that's us right there at AYASF. I decided to try to come in on a dip, and it actually filled us right away. Just for that gold stock, but that one's not going to move much. It's probably just going to be a gap up. Some big movers that we also are watching. We always like to keep our eyes on a couple big movers. If you guys do like to get a little risky here, ARAI is a huge move overnight, and I was thinking about possibly putting this on the overnight watchers, but it's up a little too much from its support down here at 120. But that's a pretty big squeeze there. And then you have another one, Reto, RETO. Oh, look at that. It's halted on the way down. I don't know why that was going up, but another one that was just going up. Larger price stock that I think is a pretty interesting one to keep around for tomorrow and definitely later on today. This Celsius, it keeps coming back down to long-term support. And the fact the markets are making new highs, the stock should bounce. If not, maybe it is an unhealthy stock and it's going to make new lows. But we've come down to yearly lows, and we've now triple bottomed technically off of 33 if it holds it again today. So I want to see if it's able to make that move again. Space stock Sea-Doo with all the space mission stuff going on. Shout out to Artemis 2. They've got space stocks going. In my opinion, Sea-Doo's starting to look like a short, but it is a breakout today. And I'm not going to play it. It's on its like third green day because it's a little overextended in my opinion. And if you don't like stuff for today, then you got to look at tomorrow morning. There's always more opportunities. So on tomorrow's morning watch list, we have to put 3 shorts on there. And the first 2 are the bigger watchers. We tried one today, and we covered, barely lost, but we won on it last week. So we're going to go after it again probably later on this week. But that one would be Car and Hertz. Car and Hertz, Avis Car Rental, Avis/Budget Car Rental has made a squeeze. If you haven't seen it yet, it's almost unreal if I say it, so I'll just show it to you. But made a squeeze from $100 to $387 in about 3 weeks. So it's been the talk of the town for sure. And look at that. It's going to get to 400. It's making new highs now. So the higher that goes, the better Hertz looks to keep going up. And Hertz just made new multi-month highs. But we're going to definitely, most likely, try to short this tomorrow or the next day. So that starts to look interesting. And I also Sea-Doo. The space stocks, Sea-Doo and Lunar, I mean, they're nice, huge moves, but Sea-Doo's coming from $2 if you really look at the bigger scheme of things, all the way up to $6. And SpaceX IPO is coming up, so I know that's what a lot of people are kind of waiting for, is that SpaceX IPO. But what is after that? So sell the new situation there, in my opinion. All right, we got 40 minutes still left in our day, and so far we have AYASF 1827 now. We've moved down our average, and then we have QNC at 265. Those are the only 2 we got for possible overnight plays as of right now. For big runners that we'll be watching after hours, ARAI. Also, you have that RMSG from yesterday that has been holding around. This is probably going to be a good one, RMSG, for tomorrow for a possible huge morning momentum squeeze is what I like to call it. But it's a play that we've been playing or watching lately. I'm going to put some of my lines that I like to see on it for tomorrow. or RMSG. So if you don't like anything today, oh, lost it. Let's put some more stuff on that morning watch list here. So RMSG, we'll put that on the morning watch list for tomorrow for sure. I'll add my lines at the end of this, but we've had some huge squeezers lately, and this one is still hanging around, definitely causing some shorts to be a little nervous. So I call them the morning momentum squeeze plays, and I've been charting them now for a month now, about a little bit longer. But we've got a nice Excel and statistics of a good amount of them that have been working. All of them being very small cap stocks and small floats for the most part. So let's make sure that this RMSG is one of those, lines up in that range. Hold on 1 second. I like to look at Wall Street Journal when it comes to this stuff. And they are a very small cap. So as you can see here, I like to go to Wall Street Journal to usually pull this stuff up. Go to RMSG and you go to their market cap. They're right around the range of all those stocks that I just showed you on that list, which is beautiful. That one's 13 million. Here's 13, 5, 12, 27, 2, 17. The one that spiked the biggest was UGRO at 27. And then the float is very, very small too. So RMHG, the Real Messenger Corp, real estate tech for Messenger. We'll be making the rest of our lines, but tomorrow morning, this definitely looks like a very interesting one to be ready to roll with. So all the stocks that we like as of right now are dipping a little bit, which is a good thing. Usually you want to buy into dips. So AYASF has dipped a little bit. We got our fills at 1827 average. Now, how many shares do I have? So we have 320 shares of that. Of AYASF at 1827. So old reliable play, definitely you're risking a little less there. You're not going to probably make a lot, but you're also risking less. QQQ making new highs. It looks like we got, what is all the conflict finally over in Iran? Huge bounce there. All right, we got 30 minutes left. The last 30 minutes is usually when I get a little more aggressive into these plays here, especially if they're a little bit slower like these ones. Yesterday, we had so much going on coming into this afternoon because of that market bounce to start the week. It was such a strong day yesterday that almost everything was looking really good. We have a lot of other things that are still looking good. You have the airlines. I mean, larger stocks are all bouncing really nicely. JetBlue is having a monster day here, up 15% on the day now, coming closer back to all-time highs. So from $4 from all-time or 52-week highs back to support level, back to highs. Just shows you that we kind of went through this little turbulence. Hopefully we can keep spiking. I do think our markets are going to stay strong after everything. And then Celsius is kind of trying to curl here. So this is an interesting one to keep my eyes on. Options are not bad to look at. The options that I like when it comes to Celsius would be these ones. Looking for a big gap up on the upside. Or not these ones, sorry. It'd be the 35 ones. They just dipped pretty low to 50 and they hit 99 today. So if this could somehow gap up, that's what we'd look for. So just have still my starters in QNC at 265. I'm just going to do the 300 something shares, 320 shares of AYSF, but I'm going to try to get some more of this QNC. Celsius is trying to curl. Love seeing that. I'm going to try some of these overnight options here. We've got a big enough dip. I think using like 40 as cuts not bad. If you get 10, you're buying $500 worth. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want. I'm going to buy 550, I think. I mean 5 at 55, sorry. Not 550. Or at least try to. Nice, Himini. So Himini had some of that 250s on QNC earlier. Amazing. What about Car? Still going up. Close to $400 now as Hertz continues to drift its way up close to 7. So both Hertz and Car are going to continue their big moves. I'm going to buy a little more of this QNC. So we got 750 and so we have 2250 now at 266. Some at 265 and the other bit at 267. right, so for the YouTube fam, it's QNC at 266 and AYASF at 1827. Usually I've been averaging about 2 trades a day. If you go back every week, I like to review my week with my team on Wednesdays. So tomorrow I call it Weekly Webinar Wednesday. And I've been doing that now since 2018. So we've been averaging 2 trades a day. A lot of times if one works and the other doesn't, we still end up green. But if both ends up working, that's really when we're start churning profit. So last week we had $1,000 week. The week before that, $2,400. So those decent weeks there. Then I went a little bit slower the week before. So we're doing pretty well. But every week, what I want to point out is we're averaging about 2 trades per day, and it looks like we're doing that again. And then some of these options over here on Celsius, but going lighter there. All right, let's see if AYASF could push up the highs here. I like what I'm seeing. It's going to try to, but we'll see if we can actually get that move. 270 has had a rough spot, 273, but the volume is light. Ideally, it just pushes tomorrow and gaps up. BTQ is definitely still holding as well, if you like that one. So we've been looking at BTQ since the beginning. I mean, QNC since the beginning of the day because of BTQ and how big of a day it was able to follow up from yesterday to today. And they both were quantum listed, or OTCs turned to listed. All right, the last 30 minutes of the day is now. We're just more. We've set what we've done. I like to coin myself a stock sniper. If you don't follow me on YouTube, I'd highly recommend to go check it out under Stock Snipers. I try to create multiple videos monthly, but if you go check it out, you can see under Stock Snipers what I coined myself specialized for is these certain patterns, and in all these patterns, I'm literally trying to pinpoint key spots. And those key spots I try to go after. That's why I'm putting these key support and resistance spots. And that's really why I coined myself a sniper. Because that's really what you're doing. You're doing kind of the dirty work, digging deep into the grass. And you could be like in trading, you can have a shotgun and there's so much opportunity. There's so much stuff moving. It could be like a casino and you can go after everything. But that's usually easier to lose when it's like that. Nice. QNC just made new highs. Or not new high day, but it's curling. So Carr is officially over 400, and that pushes Hertz over 7. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. That OTC, I don't know if you saw it, him in CLNV. That actually ended up continuing over a penny. It's just such light volume, but it's a sub penny to penny break. So BTQ's coming lower. I'm going to stay away from that one because it's a second green day. We're just going to see, hopefully, if QNC can get any type of push. It's got some sellers up here at high day. But QQQ and SPY are still looking strong on the day. So just looking for that to continue its momentum here. And remember, what I'm looking for is usually one day to the next. I'm not here telling you guys the long term these charts. These charts are very quick day trades. Some of them you'll end up ideally 10-15% is what I look for overnight. But you never know. Sometimes you'll really catch some huge runners if it's sector momentum, or if the markets really are running, you could catch 20, 30, sometimes even 50% runners. That's why tomorrow morning that RMSG will look pretty interesting. Which I think that's going to be high day. So I'll put my line at high day and low day, and then I'll finish my last two lines after the day closes. But we're looking pretty good. It's staying in a pretty tight range here. Some amazing runners in some of these larger cap stocks, with Avis being one of them. And then what about Bloom Energy, BE, up 20% on the day? So we've had two huge spikers. Bloom Energy's kind of just getting there, breaking out today. But nice to see. Momentum is coming back to the market. That's what we love to see. AYASF's trying to hold this support level, which we like, or VWAP. Very light, though, and very slow there. All right, let's see if QNC can do anything else. The spread I don't love at all, but it is still holding, and so is this BTQ. I don't like that gap in it. But last time it did something like this, it did follow up another day. Both last times it did this. And history repeats itself in the market. So BTQ and QNC, they won't really move too much after hours. Usually they're ones that don't move too much after hours. I mean, BTQ might a little bit. It's not going to be like ARAI, or RMSG that kind of gets volume. So with those, you kind of want to be in before the bell ends. So for BTQ, if I am going to try it, I'll probably wait within the last 10 minutes of the day. Because the longer I could see this thing holding 290, the more confident I feel. But if it starts to fall back towards that level, then we don't need to be messing around with that. So waiting. See if we get our last little fills that we have down here in QNC. We are on the bid right now. So BTQ is probably the only other one I'm thinking. Obviously, there's a little bit of Celsius we got too, but markets are strong. We are one news article from changing that, which I hate about the markets right now, but it seems like we kind of got over the storm. Bitcoin, I'll be watching very closely here after hours also to see if we can get above 75K. We got some fun stuff here. We got our playing game for the Miami Heat. I'm a Miami Heat fan, so I'll be watching that after hours too. So we'll have some after hours watchers with ARAI. I'll keep watching this RMSG depending on where it closes. We'll see if tomorrow morning it lines up to blast off. Last time, what was it? UCAR was the one that we were watching, the last one. And if you zoom back to it, it worked out pretty well. So usually it's not the first day that I catch it. I like to catch it on the second, third, or fourth. And you have the huge squeeze here. We're now holding pretty nicely. We create the lines after hours, and once we cross those lines, this thing goes from action from 180 all the way to 280. So 50% from bottom to top in one day. I mean, that's a great way to grow your account. So for RMSG, it's not like we're looking for it to completely, break back out all the way to 540. But if it somehow opens a little lower, our pre-market's around here and it starts to curl, you get in using, depending on where these levels are, is cut when we close the day out. And you never know, from 260 to 360 is almost 50% on your money. And that's only from here to here. Doesn't really look like a lot on the chart because the chart, how extended it is. So you're not looking for the chart to completely break out even. You're just looking to make a move. Like if you look at UCAR is a perfect example of that. You just need a small move out of it. This doesn't look like a huge move at all when you zoom out to the chart. That's a 50% move. And that's a great way to grow your account. All right, ARAI is holding again. The one thing I don't like at all about ARAI, usually for a big runner on the first big green day, I'd probably just try to take advantage of the quick squeeze after hours because tomorrow morning this has earnings, and I don't like to ever play a stock that has earnings the next morning. That's almost a 50-50 chance. I always say with 50-50 chances, you might as well go to the casino, So ARAI does have earnings tomorrow, depending on what they say. It could change everything. Sometimes it could be even bad earnings and still go up. But it does have earnings tomorrow. If anything, after hours, look for it to hold 150 and possibly squeeze here above this 178 high. So that's the little range. We'll see if it can hold here into the after hour movement. It will definitely keep moving. So tomorrow, if you guys are going to be with us in the Stock Mavericks room, we got ourselves a good list of watchers already. We'll see if we can get a couple more as the day closes out, but definitely RMSG will be a huge morning squeezer. And then Carr and Hertz for sure as Carr continues to squeeze. Cedu is a nice, interesting one too, as space stocks are making new 52-week highs. Lunar, LUNR, and then SIDU. Huge runs, but honestly, I do think if they push one more day, we should probably try to whack-a-mole them back down just for a little bit. I mean, even if it goes close to 580 back down to 450, doesn't look like a lot in the chart, but that is a big profit. So hopefully some whack-a-mole can take place tomorrow morning. But nice move. Cedu has literally ran since the spaceship landed from $2 all the way to $5.50. This was actually the last video I created on my YouTube under Stock Snipers. And I talked about the space stocks, and I talked about Lunar, which it was at 225 when I made the video. And then I talked about, Cedu was at 225, and I talked about Lunar, which was at $17. So nice moves there. All right, 10 minutes left. I always say we look for the fourth quarter pushes. I'm a big sports guy, so I compare a lot of my stock trading to sports. So fourth quarter pushes here. AYSAF, the old reliable, looks like 1810 is going to be that spot we can use as cut now. And QNC we could use as 260. So smaller risk, we have AYASF at 1827 and QNC at 266 as our two plays. The other ones on the overnight watch list that we have on there, if you do like them as well, we still have that BDRBF, BTQ, which BDRBF is coming up the highs. BTQ is still holding, coming up the highs too. And then Hive for a Bitcoin stock, but I just don't trust Bitcoin just yet. But I did want to put one Bitcoin stock on there because if Bitcoin starts to squeeze overnight, that's a different one to watch. RMSG is a nice watcher. QTBX. Let me look at that one. And then I got some Celsius options as well. QBTX. Is this a quantum stock here, Chris? That is a first green day. Not bad. Yeah, it's another quantum stock. So quantum stocks are up across the board. That's why I picked QNC as well. But yeah, that's another one you could pick. I mean, this one's up way more, 30%. Not a bad looker. QBTX. I like that. A $10 spot, that $10 break. Also 960. I like that you're doing your thing. We're both in quantum stocks, so it's just the sector moving right now. But there's a lot of stuff moving. Wow, SNAL. I didn't realize how big this ran. I forgot all about this one. That's one we talked about earlier. Let me add that to that list. Jesus. Oh, it is on that list. I forgot all about that. SNAL. Unbelievable. So this one and ARAI are the huge runners today. So there might be some fireworks after hours if you want to watch. RMSG should be fun too for tomorrow morning, so keep our eyes on that. Oh, look at that. QNC's up by highs. Slower mover, but up by high day. And then the old reliable AYASF is doing its thing too. Ooh, excuse me. So let's go Miami Heat, guys. Let's go Miami. It's interesting because I moved up to Orlando for the last year and a half. I'll eventually probably move right back down to South Florida sooner than later, but it's nice to try something new for now. My fiance has a job up here, but I ended up bandwagoning the Magic because they're pretty good this year, and I live literally a 1-minute walk from the stadium. I live right downtown, so it's awesome. I enjoy the downtown lifestyle. Like right after this, I'll probably just one wheel around, get my mind off of the market for a little bit, then go to Orange Theory, workout. But the Kia Center is right next to me, so I bandwagon the Magic. They got Desmond Bane, which is actually a pretty good player that they added from Memphis. Used to play with John Morant. And they were doing really good. And then the end of the season, they didn't close off too strong. And now they're in the play-in tournament. They play tomorrow. And that's what the Heat are in, too. So it's funny. I literally left one team to bandwagon the other, and it's not really much of a bandwagon. I got the same result. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But it is what it is. There's BDRBF. So slower moving jet related stock, jet maker Bombardier, big time jet maker, coming to all time highs. I've seen this stock break out before. I just hate the volume on it right now, but we are making new highs, and it has clear cut of 198 there. It looks like QNC found a little buyer at 270, so let's see if that holds and gives this stock a little bit of a push. I don't see it moving too much after hours, but you never know. It is a listed stock, so you want to keep watching this until 8 p.m. Eastern. If you are in it with us overnight, you want to stick to your cut no matter what after hours. And then if it pushes after hours, that's always a possibility to make some money too if you want to sell it. That's up to you. But I ideally look for, like I said, 10 to 15% on the upside on a stock like this, with the 5% or less risk, and that is probably like a 3%, 2% risk we have. And then AYSF, the old reliable, what I look for there is just the gap up. And then after the gap up happens, I try to decide what I like from it. But if it does gap up, I try to make like 4 to 5% on the stock like that. And I risk like, well, not even 1% or risk 1% if you want to say that. All right, we got 5 minutes left. Let's see if we can get the buzzer beater push is what I like to call it. So we'll see what we get here now that basketball season is coming to an end. Speaking of the Miami Heat, in the Miami Heat history, since I've been growing up, we've had the same announcer that we've always listened to. So every game I've went to has always been the Heat announcer I've always listened to. And I've always done the dos minutos to end off every day. I still do that with trading. And people are probably wondering why. But if you go to the Miami Heat social media, you'll see he's actually retiring this season. And that was the famous saying of his. 2 minutes left. Every time there's 2 minutes left in the half or the end of the game, he gives you the little dos minutos. And being in Miami, it just fits it so well. So we're closing in on that. We've got 5 minutes left here on the day. John, thanks for letting me know about the no audio. It did just cut off randomly. I don't know what was happening, but it's probably because I was doing 2 streams at once. Anybody on the YouTube or the social media stream have any questions about anything or any tickers that they want to talk about themselves? Always a fun time being able to hang out with other traders. I'm always open, especially anyone that's in Orlando. Let me know, or around this area. Always open to hanging out, talking, trading for an hour or so, or even doing a power hour session if you want. BTQ is curling back to highs, but we're just going to stick with this QNC. The big squeezers ARAI and SNAL are still closing up by highs. So those will be interesting to watch after hours. If you are hanging around after hours to watch some basketball, those are probably ones you want to keep pulled up. Celsius, really nice bounce into the close there. We'll see if that gets that follow-up tomorrow. It never came and got my last share, but I did end up getting 5 at 57 so far. So that's the average we got. AYSF, we're up now, finally. It took a while. Could have probably waited a second for a dip, but nice to see that. That is a gold stock. If you want to look at GLD, that'll be the gold ETF. Usually if that's up, you can feel comfortable trying to hold that tomorrow morning. All right, now we got it. Dos minitos. I probably say it completely wrong. I am not Spanish. I'm Italian, but it is what it is. Let's get it going. An Italian from South Florida. 2 minutes left in our day. If you are after hour trading, you'll keep your eyes on these stocks till 8 p.m. Eastern, though. Johnny said, "You good, brother?" I'm keeping it alive, baby. Fourth 1K day for Himini. Let's give a shout out to my man Himini. It's his fourth 1K day. That's amazing, dude. You keep adding him up here. It's beautiful. Beautiful. RMSG, nice close. I actually would rather this close on the downside for the morning momentum squeeze play. Look at Celsius. What a close there. We're actually going to get some pretty nice gains on this option. Hopefully it comes back to 99 tomorrow. But RMSG, man, what a move. So I like this for tomorrow. We can have our line. We'll put our 2 lines at the close here once we finish off. But Himini, that is amazing. You really are on fire. This is where we're going to close it out, though. Nice closes in QNC and AYSF, as well as Celsius. Amazing close there across the board. RMSG came back to lows into the close, but that's good. That's good for tomorrow, as long as it keeps holding. As long as it holds this, it's actually good that this happened into the close. I'd rather this happen here. Wash out some people that thought they were going to catch it early. And we'll see if we can catch it overnight. Or tomorrow morning, I mean. All right, 10 seconds left. Nice close in AYSF. It kind of curled back to highs, and QNC did too, so we'll take it. If you like BTQ for the gap, that held as well. And there is the bell. Nice work, team. QNC actually ticked up to 274 the last second. I actually got an alert for it. That was pretty cool. But it closed at 270, so we'll take it. Hopefully we get the gaps. Great work, YouTube family and Instagram social media team. Much love, guys. I'll be here live every Tuesday, but you could come join me every single day in the Simpler Trading Room under Stock Mavericks. All right, guys. Good luck with these plays. Stick to your cut if you are